Missing someone, love with all your heart. Missing someone, love with heart.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you guys who are new, I go by Locks by Lauren on Instagram, and today I'm gonna do a creative color transformation. This is my lovely model Diane. I used to do her hair like every month when she was a bleach and tone, and she was great because she would let me do whatever I wanted. And so today we are going to try and cancel out some of this like blue green situation that she has going on. We did kind of like a blue and a mix of purples, the last color she did, and some reason her hair just loves to stain a green tone like this whenever we do any type of blue or purples. So today we are going to blend out her roots and then add in some pink to help color correct this color out. What that's going to do is give her a really nice fade as the color fades out, and fingers crossed, I hope it cancels out all of the green and fades more of a neutral tone or kind of like a blondish tone. So for today's mix of color, I'm going to start off by mixing up pretty much 15 volume with mixing up half and half of 10 volume and 20 volume for that first bowl of lightener. And I'm going to be mixing that 1 to 2 with the powder. This is going to make the powder consistency not too thick and not too runny so that my foils do not slip, but gives me a really nice clean and strong lift. So for today's highlighting technique, I am going to be starting at her nape of her neck, and that very first foil I like to do kind of like a baby light, a very heavy baby light, and then everything after that I will be leaving in some dimension and weaving her a little bit on the thicker side. The reason why I like to do that very initial weave nice and blended like a baby light is so that when she puts her hair up, she doesn't see like thick chunks of color. It's more blended in with everything else, and then everything after that I will be going in and doing more of a thicker weave. That way when she wears her hair down or styled, whatever she does to it, she really sees those really nice ribbons of the color, opposed to if I were to just baby light her whole head, everything would just look super dimensional and blended. For my foil sectioning, every time I go to the next section, I take about, I would say, a 1/4 inch up from the last, and then I pick up that very top thin weave on top of each 1/4 inch section. By doing this, it gives me enough dimension so that it blends out these more so thicker ribbons of color. And if I were to do these sections back to back, it would just give more of a solid effect. So leaving that dimension in here really gives it that nice dimensional, like blended balayage look that a lot of clients like, and gives your clients more of a low maintenance look. So since Diane first started out as a bleach and tone, it does take sessions to kind of convert your client back to something more dimensional at the root if you're not going to be adding lowlights. And I did not want to add any lowlights to her hair because I want her to stay a very bright creative color client. So what I like to do, in the way that I approach converting a client from a bleach and tone into something more lived in and more of a balayage look, is to slowly add more dimension. So the very first time when I highlighted her from being a bleach and tone, we did more of a heavy highlight and slowly added the dimension. So when I did that highlight, I didn't really add in a negative space in between my sections. I just did my weaves back to back. That way it could kind of ease her hair into adding some dimension, because if I right off the bat just started taking 1/4 inch sections each weave, there would be a weird blend between the highlights and where the solid color is on the mids. because you'll really see the lines there. So doing it first as like a heavy highlight and then slowly adding those 1/4 inch sections of dimension gives a very soft blend and makes everything look a lot more seamless. So as I'm highlighting her, since that very initial appointment where we converted her to more of a highlight look, we did something so heavy, as I go back in the next sessions over time, I pick up the same pieces that I highlighted last time, and then depending on how much regrowth I have will determine whether I pick up the dark that I left out or still just pick up the same highlights that I highlighted last time. It really just depends on what kind of look you're going for. So the difference between doing like picking up the highlights, the exact same ones that you did last time, maintains the same amount of dimension this appointment. But if I were to pick up the dark that I left out the last appointment and left out the highlighted pieces that I did, then that would create more of a solid effect on the ends, because essentially if you're picking up the pieces of dimension that you left out the previous appointment to this one, you're making the ends a little bit more lighter because you're picking up those pieces. But if I were to leave those pieces and only highlight the same hairs that I did every time, that is going to maintain the same amount of dimension throughout that mid section. So for Diane, since we are going for something a little bit more low maintenance for her, she has talked about maybe going back to natural tones. So in this appointment, I'm just going to be focusing on trying to pick up the blonde that I highlighted last time, not trying to lighten up that mid part any more than it is. Unless I don't see a highlighting pattern, then I will recreate it like I did right here. But other than that, I try to pick up the pieces that are a little bit that were already lightened last time, so that we kind of maintain the dimension and it kind of grows out that way. So slowly we are getting her to something being more dimensional and more natural and giving her a really nice soft grow out, so everything can be a bit more low maintenance for her. And I love explaining to my clients too, like the way that I will determine whether I start to kind of brighten up that mid part or just keep the dimension and let that part grow out, is I'll kind of ask them and get a feel whether they want something a little bit more maintenance or lower maintenance. And then you can also ask if they want to go a little bit lighter or they want to keep the dimension, and that will help you determine whether you should pick up the pieces that you left out or pick up the pieces that you last highlighted last time. So I lifted Diane to a nice clean level 9 and 10 for the root area, and we are going to be putting some Pulp Bright semis. I've already shampooed her with some Budapest clarifying shampoo. And then I will be applying the Pulp Bright semis onto her towel dried wet hair. And so for my semi colors, I'm going to be using Candy and Nirvana for the root, because I wanted something that was more of like a pinky purpley tone for the root color. And then that pink shade is mostly Candy and a little bit of lilac. And this is going to help cancel out some of that green that she has in her hair. We want her to next time come in almost natural, and so like natural tone meaning either blonde or some sort of blonde, because she's tired of seeing her hair fade green, and I want her to have a really clean canvas so that we can do any color the next time that we do her hair. So that is why I chose to do more of some pinks and purples to help cancel out the greens and blues. And then I like to apply my semis wet on the hair just like I would a toner. So I section out the hair, do the root first, taking very thin sections, and then applying the lighter color on the mids and ends once I've done the whole root area, and just making sure that everything is fully saturated. And then once I was done applying, I let this sit on her hair for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then I went ahead and rinsed it with some ice cold water. Alrighty, so here is the finished look for my model. You can see, even though we started off with a pretty uneven canvas, everything looks nice and blended, and honestly I feel like having all those varying tones gave it such a beautiful dimensional tone of pinks and purples. So hopefully when this washes out, a lot of that blue and green starts to cancel out with the pink and purple that is in her hair, and hopefully this will fade more to a natural blondish tone so that next time when I do her hair, we can do something a little bit more fun and creative with a cleaner canvas. Alrighty guys, so that is it for this week's episode. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and I will talk to you all next week.